Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I made this little tablet phone stand for almost next to nothing with just scraps that I had laying around in the garage. Alright? Okay, so the first thing I did was find a piece of scrap lumber in the garage. This was an old piece of pine that I had laying in there. And I cut it at 11 inches, and it's a 1/2 inch thick by 1.5 inches wide. So I just ripped this on the table saw, and then I cut this piece in half, and each piece is 5.5 inches. Okay, so I ended up with a 5.5 by a 1.5 by a 1/2 inch piece of pine. And now next what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the notches in. So I'll bring you in closer, and I'll cut the notch in for the tablet or phone to sit in. Okay? Okay, so now what I did was I went up about halfway to start my notch, and then I went in about 1.25 inches. And then this notch is about 5/8 of an inch wide. And what I did was angled it about 15 degrees from straight. Because most of the time you're looking down at your tablet. You can angle this as much as you want. It really depends on how much angle you want to it. My phone, I'm making this for my tablet. My tablet is much thicker because my tablet has a thin case on it. So my tablet will fit down in here perfectly snug. Now my phone is actually going to be, it's much thinner, so my phone will angle back quite a bit more. But that's okay. So I don't usually watch a lot of things on my phone anyway, so I use my tablet all the time. So you can make this notch any width that you want is what I'm saying. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp these together, and then I'm going to take this to my bandsaw, and I'm going to cut this out. Now you could use a scroll saw. A jigsaw would be a little hard because these pieces are small. You could make these pieces much bigger and cut the notch out with a jigsaw if you're careful, and then cut these down to size. That way there's more mass to hold on to. A jigsaw kind of has a lot of vibration, and it tends to grab pieces a lot more. So it really depends on what you think is safe to cut this out. But I'm going to use my bandsaw because I use my bandsaw all the time, and I just like the way that my bandsaw cuts pieces. But a scroll saw would work really well on these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these notches out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so here they are with the notches cut out, and the only thing left to do now, you probably would want to sand these down a little bit. One thing to note though is that you want to make sure that that these notches aren't perfectly snug with your tablet, because if they are, when you go to put your when you put your hinge on and you open these up a little bit, these won't. These are not perfectly straight across. If it was like this, it'd be perfectly straight across. So you're going to have to allow a little room for the angle. So your tablet's going to kind of sit like this. So you want to cut these like a 1/8 or 1/16 or so inch. Just kind of test it out. Open them up like this and put your tablet in just to make sure that it's going to fit. Okay. So now the next thing is we're going to attach the hinge, and then we're good. Okay, so here it is with the hinge attached. Now I did end up cutting these a little bit wider, about another 1/8 or so inch. That way when I opened it up like this, my tablet fits in perfectly. And another thing that I did, the screws for the hinge were sticking out a little bit, so either you want to have smaller screws, cut this a little bit thicker, or what I did was I took it to my bench grinder and I ground this down, the pieces, the pointed edge of the screw. So one thing that you could also do is, if you're worried about it, the wood damaging your tablet or whatever, if it's too snug of a fit, you could put a little felt and line it with a little bit of felt and glue it down there if you wanted to. I'm not worried about it because it doesn't seem to bother it one bit. But okay, so there it is, my tablet phone stand. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you all later.